Okay, so when I talk about nested virtualization, again, like I said, this is for you studying at home. Say you don't have a box or you don't have something else that you can use. Say you want to use Google Cloud. If you want to use any cloud architecture, you can. But let me give you some other options that you can use. You can use Packet, .net. Um, they they actually have bare metal machines, so you can most machines now you can probably run a hypervisor on. So what they do is they pretty much provide you an API out to their servers, and then you can deploy a server via infrastructure as code, and then from there you can load your OS, and then on top of your OS you can put your hypervisor. So that brings me back to this here, the difference between a type 1 and a type 2. So in what you see inside of AWS, Google Cloud, and Red Hat is they use KVM as their hypervisor. Well, the type 2, which is makes it a type 2 hypervisor, and it tells you here type 2 hypervisors run on a host operating system. In other words, they got there's an OS, and then you lay down something on top of it. And then a type 1 hypervisor, it runs directly on the hardware. So your VMware is what you would call your type 1. There's nothing else that goes in between that. So remember, type 2, I got the bare metal machine. I put down my OS on top of it. And then on top of that, I put down, I need it. On top of that, I put down, on top of that OS, I enable my hypervisor to do what I need for it to do. So that's where that comes into play. So type 1, type 2. When we enable this in Google Cloud or AWS, we're doing type 2. Well, are we doing type 2? Yeah, we're doing type 2. So here we go. Let's go back to their picture here. It's kind of, let me see. I don't hope this didn't. Can everyone see this? Is that too big? All right, so, and then I'm losing my screen. Oh, I know what it is. I clicked on the image and it's just giving me the image, and that's not what I want. All right, so here, uh, they walk through and they talk about the types. They explain their picture really here, but anyway, they was like, okay, the compute engine runs on top of the physical hardware, or the host server, and that's your level 0 environment. And they're talking about this right here where my pointer is at. And then they talk about within the host server, a pre-installed hypervisor allows a single server to host multiple VMs. So they have their own hypervisor that they put on that. And then you walk through a series of steps and you enable communication, which this communication goes back to the actual physical server anyway. And then you put down some stuff. You do some setting changes, and then you enable yourself to put another hypervisor on top. So that's where we get and start talking about nested virtualization here. So there's the physical host that are here, and then they put a hypervisor on top of that, and then there's another hypervisor that goes on top of that, and then uh, you're gonna enable the configuration, and then you're gonna throw another hypervisor on top of that. So nested hyper virtualization is what you want to call it. Oh, and I should mention, because it's in my mind, on the Windows side, Hyper V. So I don't know. I know that some people may still be using Hyper V, but I don't know. I don't know too many people that use Hyper V. Is anybody using Hyper V in their environment, or come from an environment that's using Hyper-V at all on the Windows side? No? Okay. So, oh, wipe Hyper-V can't be installed with Windows Home. You have to upgrade. So anyway, you can enable Hyper-V if you have, I guess, not Windows Home, but let me see, Windows Enterprise, Professional, or Education. That's what they're saying. And so basically, again, you got an OS, and then you enable Hyper-V, which would be for Windows, and Linux, it would be KVM. So that's it for Windows. Let's go back. All right, so here's where they tested the different versions of pretty much this is KVM, like I said, running on top of that Ubuntu, Debian, SE Linux. That's this I think that's SUSE. Oh, that was loud. And then they talk about the performance. All right, so that's another thing. All right, so I don't know when you would use this in production. Like I was trying to figure out a time when I want to use this in production. And I actually looked this up. So let's go and look at it. Next to virtualization in production. Because I don't want you to start on something and you're like, okay, well, when else would I use this? Um, let's see. It was an article I had found a while back talking about when you would use this in production. Like I've seen a lot of stuff in labs, but I also saw a one where they talked about you would want to use this as as a high availability or a failover situation where you didn't want to have to rebuild your situation. You could just build out on this nested virtualization situation. So I'll have to look at some stuff to find out and give you an example in production. I'll post it in Slack too. All right, so if you have your Google Cloud, or I posted if you have AWS and so forth, you may want to follow along with this. Let me see if I remember my Google Cloud stuff. It may tell me to update because I'm pretty sure I am out of what you call it, out of scope here. Let me look and see. Do they have one? Let me see. G Cloud Compute. Let me see if it'll give me a help. Okay, that's help. All right. I just want to see if it was gonna make some calls. All right. So here I'm just gonna copy this command. I walked through this before, so um, it shouldn't. I shouldn't have to do this again. But we'll see. Let's see. If you're creating an image, use the Google Cloud. So look at the API. All right. So G Cloud command tool line provides the following license URL, license this. So for example, if you're following along, this creates an image, name, nested VM, so forth and so on. So if some other steps actually, let me scroll up, that you need it because you have to enable this first. Let me see. Uh, you have to do something on the. Come on. You have to do something on the thing. We'll go back. Hey man, let me see. Enabling. All right, here we go. Before you begin, you do that. You do that. Yeah, we went through that. Create. Okay, so I guess you got to create this custom image. If you are creating this, let's see. Oh, all right. So let's run this. Can somebody answer Taz? Not Taz, but what you call it in Slack? I'm gonna log out. All right, so let's go here. I should copy that. Let's go over here. Grab that. All right. So error could not fetch resource projects desktop. Let me see. Let's go to my G Cloud. Oh yeah, it's the wrong one. That's why. That's over here. Let me switch accounts because I don't have one set up for under that account. And let's copy this command and run it again. Okay, what are you complaining about? Okay, so you don't find a disk one, so we need to get some defaults. So I need to find out what my cloud default is. Let's go into my console because I don't think I'm in US Central 1. So G Cloud defaults for the zone. Set the default. That's what we want to do. Uh, mm, mm, mm. Well, they got it in settings. I want to do it from command line. So Google Cloud Compute default region. Let's do this. And let's go back up. It's desktops. Women in Linux. All right. Let me expand this. I don't know if y'all can see this or not. All right. That's a key compute. I am looking for my default zone. And that's what I was talking about earlier. This gcloud command, components, update. It's going to do its thing with updating my stuff. Which you can't perform this because you do not have permission to modify the SDK. Oh, I wonder if I need to do this. I don't think I do. Apparently I do. Yes. All right. So anyway, let's go back over to here. Once you get that, you have to create this image. Once you create this image, then you can create a VM. And then once you create the VM, you're going to SSH, and then you're going to check to see if you have all the set permissions. So in the world of Linux, if you run this on a Red Hat system, this is how you check to see if your machine has the ability to do like nested, not nested virtualization, but has the ability to do virtualization at all. But most of your Macs that you get, you should be able to just put VirtualBox on there and then create a VM and then go from there. They're already that's already enabled. That's not something you have to do. And then here they talk about logging into the VM, and then from there, once we do that, they go into, like I say, this is a long process, setting up a bridge, because now if you want to look at it, you're treating this VM that you created as a bare metal machine. So you have to give it some networking, you have to enable things, like so that's what they talk about here, your verse, and then they're creating a interface, different interfaces here. And like I say, this is long, and I really should make a video of it, and then we'll walk through it. I think I will, and then from there, they're just talking about, hey, we're just gonna set up a simple HTTP server, and then you can curl, and basically they just want to show you, and then how it works, and then configuring a nested VM to be accessible outside. This is when you go into this G Cloud command where they start talking about setting up the servers and forwarding on the interfaces, so you can be sitting I could be sitting here, and then I can connect to my VM from the outside, but originally when we did it, we wouldn't be able to connect. So that's what this is really walking through. I want to walk through it tonight, but I want you all to tell me how comfortable you are, and if I have left something out that you didn't understand before I start pushing forward. Anybody? Any questions? Concerns? Do you understand what I'm talking about? There's no wrong question. All right. All right. So let's go. Let me see where is at with this update. Let me see here. Oh, it's still doing this thing. All right. And then let me scroll back up while it's doing this thing. See where I was failing at. It was getting an invalid choice. It was saying that that wasn't correct. So couldn't find it because I hadn't made one. So let's go into my console here and let's create a disk. Compute engine, and then let's click on disk. All right, so I do have some disks that are already there that I can use, but let's look and see what zones this is. Let me see. Let me go back to disk. And let's look at this CentOS 7 was on. So it falls in US Central B. So let's do that. Let's go back over here. It's still doing this thing. It's updating. So as you can see here, you run the command and it goes through and it updates the SDKs, any other dependence you have, what APIs you may have enabled and so forth. So it walks through and does its thing. So let's do my up arrow here and let's look at this. Okay, so we know for a fact that I am in US Central 1B, and we have something called CentOS 7. And let me see, yeah, there we go. So it should find that. Let's see. Let me see if I have to run this with a sudo command. Okay, where's my error? Oh, it already exists. Oh, okay, so I named it. I remember I did this before. Nested VM image. So let's go back and change the name. And let's put a -2 behind it because I was playing with this before. And inside of, so what I just did, I said G Cloud Compute Images create a nested VM image 2. So if I went to images, I should see nested VM image 2 showing up, and I did the one for nested image before. I did it on March 28th. All right, so let's go back to our info here. All right, so we took care of step 1. Step 2 says now create a VM with the custom image. So I'm making my image. Once I make my image, then I'm gonna create my um VM based upon this image. I have no idea what's in that image right now. We're just gonna create it and go from there. Let's go back and see if it's done creating. It's still spinning here. If we go over to our command line, it says it's ready. So that should stop spinning. So now it tells me it is ready. We're going to now take this command and we got to put a -2 behind that. Wrong screen. Oh, that's right. -2. Example nested image, and we're making an instance. So let me go over here to my instances now and make sure that I don't have one already called example nested image, which I do. So we're going to put a -2 behind that because I've created it before. So let's do this. Um, let's do this because I need uh that. And then here, let's put a -2. And then I am going to do -- image that I want to create this VM from. Oh, it's going to fail because I didn't do the sudo command. That's okay. Let it time out. Let's check. I may not have to do it again. Because I've already entered my credentials there once. So it should just work. Yeah, it should. That's what I thought. It should just work because I've already entered my credentials. So there we go with that. Then the next thing we have to do now is we want to confirm that virtualization is enabled inside of that VM. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. And anybody who has like a Linux Academy account or something of that nature, I would behoove you to go and start playing with the Linux Academy for VMs and stuff like that because it'll really help you figure out how to maneuver and how to play around and actually get certified on Google Cloud if you want to. See, this is on Home Depot uses it. It was just a big announcement the other day. Um, Someone else is using um who was it somebody adopted GCP this year. I can't remember. It was a big announcement because it was like I was like, oh, somebody's really like filling GCP. I can't remember who it was. It was a big company. It wasn't Visa, but it was a major company and I can't remember who it was. I might have posted it in Slack too. All right, so let's look and see. All right, so now we see that we got example nested to instance created in this time or in this zone, not time zone. And this is the machine type, and here's the internal IP address, and here's the external IP address. So really, I should be able to ping this if I have ping open on my which I do on my firewall. And when I say my firewall, I mean my Google Cloud firewall. So there's a Google Cloud firewall that enables this. So that you can enable that. So now it's saying I should be able to use G Cloud to connect to this instance, which is going to connect on this IP address. Um, let's see. And I named it -2. So I should pop into the shell. Let me see. Oh, you look. Did you see this? All right. So the reason why this is not working is because the zone that I'm specifying is East B1. So we know for a fact that we put it in US Central 1 dash B. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do G Cloud compute dash dash help. Why? Because I want to know how to specify the zone. So available flags that I can specify. I need to specify the zone. Let me see, zone. I need to be able to specify the zone from command line, and I didn't see that. Let's see what it gives me back here. All right, so looking for zone, and I don't see it. See instant groups, health check images, instances type regions. Maybe is that considered a region? Well, let's find out. Let me go do some jigging. GCP compute SSH regions. Let me see. I'll look at the second one down there. Hold on. Let's go here. Yeah, it may be the region. I thought it was the zone. Yeah, dash that zone. See? Dash that zone. Oh man, come back. Dash that zone. All right. So let's go back to our command. Let me clear my screen. And one thing I need to get is the zone, exactly how it shows up here. And let's do the up arrow and do dash dash zone equal to that. Okay, so I'm on the instance. All right. And then I can do a cat etc red hat release. I'm CentOS 7.4. All right. So let's go back over here to our information, and it says now we're gonna grep the C. We're gonna grep this. This is actually funny. So what they're doing is /proc is where everything is. When I say live about the system, it's real time about the system. So I'm gonna have to use the sudo command for this, but I'm gonna try it without sudo. Um, this is real time information. All right, so it returns a 1, and they say check the nested virtualization. A non-zero confirms that nested virtualization has been enabled. So now, from there, remember now, let's go back all the way up. Remember now, we had a physical server, which is at Google Cloud, in Google's cloud. They have a hypervisor that they lay down, and then there's another hypervisor that's going on top of that, right? That we just enabled, and then on top of that, we created a VM, and you can see here it's all in that compute, right? The compute engine. So one step further now, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna say you can start next is showing here that you can start them different ways, but they walk through and showed you like you can we did the SSH part. Here there's like, hey, if you need to update with necessary packages. This right here is from the mindset of you're running Ubuntu or Debian based images, and then they walk through and show you how to do that part. But we've already got our VM started and finished that off. So starting a nested VM. So let's look at this. All right. Oh, go back. So here they were like, Boom, boom, boom. Let's go back up. You can start an SVM in different ways. This section provides an example of starting a VM if you had a QEM based system running Debian. And so they were just walking through doing it with Debian. We don't have to walk through this part because we've already got our VM up and running. So what we need to do is kind of skip down to this part here. We've already SSH to the machine. Here they're talking about installing packages. So let's look at these packages that they have. They want you to install. They want you to install QEM, KVM, bridge utils, lib libraries, and I don't know why my screen is. Let's copy this and then let's put it on command line here. All right, they want lib vert bin vert. So this is from a Debian perspective. We're on Red Hat, so we have to do yum as our package manager. Now let me make this a little bigger. And then they're just doing they did a yum. So here they just did a apt-get update. So we'll do a yum update first. And then they went ahead and they installed some packages. This QEM for KVM, bridge utils. Let's look at what we need for CentOS Verse is what we're looking at. So CentOS Verse packages. All right, Real 7 or yeah, CentOS 7. Let's see. We check for that. So here's the packages we need right here. Similar, but these are the packages we need. All right. It's doing this thing. It's doing this thing. It's got 177 packages. Who knows how long that's going to take? So while that is doing this thing, I'm going to open this up to questions about anything. Anybody? Any other questions? We see some new faces as well too. Thank you all for coming. No questions? Anybody lost? And it's okay to say that you're lost.
Mika, this is Lucy.
Hey,
Hey, I was wondering if you can just do a quick overview of everything you've discussed so far, kind of a recap.
yeah, sure. So basically, what I did was I'm showing you how to do one or two things here. Uh, those things are, hey, if I were going for we go here, RHCSA exam, and this is the Red Hat exam. I'm not sure if the LPIC has that. Taz, do you know if the LPIC does that cover KVM? Because I don't remember. No. Yes. Okay. All right. So if somebody want to look up LPIC and KVM, that'd be great. Because I'm not sure if it covers it or not. I'm not sure if it does. All right. So let's look at the objectives. All right. So inside of the RHCSA exam, you have to know how to create virtual machines using, okay, she left, using KVM. And if you don't know how to do virtual machines using KVM, or you don't have a box, I should say, to put this to build out your lab environment. Linux Academy provides you your own, but say you pick up the book and you want to study and you don't have a box. I'm showing you from the perspective of you can use Google Cloud, you can use AWS, or you can use Azure to build out your environment and then study from there. So what I've done is is I went through and I enabled uh, uh, virtualization or nested virtualization on a hypervisor in Google Cloud so that you can create your own environment to study from. Plus, it just sounds really cool when you go for an interview too. Just a FYI. So, oh yeah, let's see. LPIC objectives. Let's look and see what the LPIC objectives are. All right. Let's see. They have you doing USB proc, boot the system, the BIOS, change run levels, targets, and shutdown. That's just the first one. That's the 101. I don't see anything about virtualization. Let's go to part two. Um, I don't see anything there. Boot manager, Grub, shared libraries, Debian, which is another OS. They talk about package managers. Yeah, I'm not seeing um where you have to get into the KVM for uh the LPIC exam. I mean, I'm still looking.
Hey, Tamika, when I Googled it, it said test 304, I guess. Yeah, exam 304. I put,
Okay. Exam 304. Let's look.
yeah.
Exam 304 LPIC. Yeah, so by the time you take this exam, you should be well versed in virtualization and so forth. But inside of the RCSA exam, that's one of the first things in the book they talk about actually. It's they use KVM to set up the lab environment. So if you don't have a server or a machine at home, like I said, you can use packet.net or I'm showing you how to use Google Cloud because I actually faced like, hey, I want to build out my lab, but I don't want to spend any money to go buy new stuff and then have to worry about, is the hard drive good? Is this enough power? Can I run this on my laptop? But I don't want my laptop to get bogged down. Do I have enough memory? So I was like, oh man, how can I do this out in the cloud world and just turn them off when I get done? And so I started looking into it and I started seeing nested virtualization. I said, oh, this would be good for a class. So that's kind of like the overview of the last class, and I explained hypervisors, like what the difference between a type 1 and a type 2 hypervisor. I'll send you all this link as well. But uh, this is kind of uh, like the beginnings of, hey, study for the RHCSA, but this is how you can set up your own lab to do this. If you never set up anything at Google Cloud, it's okay. They give you $300 um, for a year. I think $300 or a year of free access. The other one, I don't know if let me. I think it's accessible. It's called Revelo, and this is what Red Hat runs all their stuff on. Um, all their class and their training is ran on Revelo. Let me see if we can get to a main page though. Where is the main page? Let's just do Revelo systems. I see the cloud stuff. I don't see like a main page. But this is what they use. Like if you buy the Red Hat subscription, which is used to be $5,000, then it's $7,000 for their classes for a whole year. I don't know how many classes you could take in a whole year and get certified on. Subscription, Red Hat, training. I bought it one time when it was $5,000 when they first came out with it, and They gave us discounts. I think we got it down to like 3,500, but yeah, whatever. Anyway, so their training subscription includes here. So you can study to get like the Red Hat Admin 124 is like the beginning of Linux. 134 is like advanced commands. And then the 199 is the combination of those two. And then you start stepping into the Red Hat Admin, which is 1, 2, and 3, or you can skip all that and take. There's one class you can do that encompasses all three of those, and then you do the Red Hat certification if you want to. There's satellite administration. I'll tell you what's in industry right now that people use that look good on resumes. Red Hat satellite server, Red Hat server hardening, Red Hat of high availability, and Red Hat performance tuning. You know those things? Golden. If we start talking about cloud, um, anything that deals with OpenShift here, it's automatic. Puppet and Ansible, automatic. OpenStack, it is company dependent. It's not. I don't see. I see a lot of people want OpenStack from Red Hat, but not as much as I see OpenShift. And then when you start talking about cloud forms here, cloud forms is more like a overall management tool. And I'm gonna keep going, and then I'm gonna break down cloud forms, and then we're gonna get back into it. Um, Gluster is another one. Anybody who's doing application development, JBoss, Java, this is golden. So then you start talking about uh, virtualization with Rev and so forth. This class right here, that's a good one. And then these are like all this right here is considered like just your video classroom stuff like that. So that's what that is. So then they tell you what exams are included in this, and see certification exams included at the standard level subscription, which includes 5 exam attempts and 2 exam retakes. So I guess you get take attempt to do 5 exams out of this, and then you get 2 retakes if you fail one. I don't know if that's 2 retakes per class or 2 retakes just in general. I'm not sure, but that is what the that's what you get out of this. It used to be 5, like I said. I think it jumped up to $7,000, and then they start playing around with the subscription. Yeah, basic and then standard. So I don't. I think the basic is 5, and I think the standard is 7. I think that's what it is. Um, I don't see where they offer. Okay, pricing. Okay, 1 year of access, 400 hours of lab, uh, early access, and then you don't get any certification exams out of basic, but out of standard you do. You attend seminars, and then you get a chance to talk to an instructor and you get some live online coaching. And if you can get a company to pay for that, or if you're getting a new job and you're like, hey, I need training included in this, then I'll roll with that. Let's see. Uh, they don't automatically tell you that. It's see 7,000, and then basic is 5,000. So basic is 1 year hands-on practice, some instructor. You don't get the certification exams. You don't get the expert seminars, and you don't get the instructors. It's I want to say it's almost worth it, but it's not, because you have to look at how long does it take you to get ramped up and study for these exams, and can you knock out 5 exams in a year? And you could if you do everything in succession, like, and then don't go nowhere. Don't go to no club. Don't go to no party. Don't go nowhere. You could. I mean, it could be done. I'm just saying, it could be done. No trips. Every trip you make, every breath you take, it would be Red Hat. because you paid that $7,000 or five. All right. Oh, the other, let's see, Ravello, uh, subscriptions. What else did I say I wanted to show you? Uh, I think that was it off the top of my head. It'll come back to me. All right. So my instance should be done updating. Boom. You see that it's done. And remember now, I'm doing nested virtualization. Okay, so we've done all of that. And Lucy, did I answer your question, by the way?
You did. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So here's where we were. We were setting up KVM on our instance in order to, what are we doing, attempting to do? So once I set up KVM on my machine, then I can create smaller VMs on the machine. Super cool. So sudo and do a yum install of these things. I didn't pass the dash y, so it's gonna ask me, and I'm gonna say yes, and then it's gonna go off and do its thing. All right. So what else do we need here? We need to remember I'm doing CentOS, so that's why I had to step away from these commands over here. See, they're setting up they start the default network with the libvirt package, which is what we're gonna do. And then now you should see VB0 bridge, and then so they show you that you have ETH0 localhost, and then a bridge here, and then they'll walk it through creating a dummy interface. And so we're gonna go back and forth between these commands and so forth. And why do we need that? Well, we need that because we need to be able to have our VMs that we create on our VM talk to each other or get access outside. So pretty cool. So all right, let's see where we're at here. Okay, we're done with our install on that. Let's hop back to my where did I go? Where did I put it at? Right here. So now we're gonna enable the libvirt and start it. And because I'm not root, I have to do my sudo command, which gives me sudo privileges to run that command. But it also logs the command, and I want to show you that too once this gets going. So if I did a cat on, let's do a sudo on tail dash, not dash f, let's do var log messages. You see where I talked about that VB0 information, network manager, the bridge port. Let's clear, and let's do, I should have did this before so you could see the difference, but now you'll see this VB0. Before you would have just saw this right here, but I installed this information here, and I started libvirt, which created my stuff here. Let me quit that so it don't pop up here. Hey, the letters. All right, so now we've got that going. Make sure the module is loaded. Let's do that. We're ensuring every step. So sudo again, and we see that the module is loaded. You see that we're getting a response that KVM is actually working as well too. So now it says by default DHCP base network bridge. By default DHCP based network bridge configured by libvirt. You can verify this. In other words, DHCP is up and running. So let's look at this. This is bridge cuddle, as some people say. I say control, but whatever. Okay, I didn't do my sudo because I think it still remembers my password. So you can see I'm getting a response there. Let's see if we get a Versh is the controller. So I want to explain Versh. All right, so let's see what we're missing here. I don't have nothing set up as a default here. So let's go back because they look like they've got something. They got a bridge set up, but they don't. I don't have a default bridge set up. I didn't set up a default bridge. All right, so let's take a step back and let's do Verge KVM Red Hat or Rail. All right, so I don't have. I might be able to still use this. I don't remember if I still have access or not. So that's for 7. We need to go to 7. That's for 5. Need this for 7. Um, Migration, desktop, sysadmin, networking, kernel, performance tuning, storage, development, virtualization. Let's open this up in another tab. All right, so here we're talking about benefits, disaster recovery, KVM. This is what we want. Okay, so Versh, you see it here, is the tool that is used for KVM inside of Red Hat. And I think they use Versh over here inside of, let's see, Bridge Cuddle. They show a bridge. And they set up an interface, another bridge show. Let me see if they're using Versh. I don't see it in here. So, and it says Debian based, so I don't really see it, but that's okay. All right. So here's a good overview right here. And let me send you all this link. So in case my screen is a little wonky, you have so. Oh, and I want to FYI for everyone, we do have a podcast coming up and some training coming up from some Linux guys from Red Hat, but they would not be representing Red Hat. So just FYI. So if you got questions, let us know because they'll be coming up doing some training. All right. So again, remember when we were talking before, right? There's that hardware piece that we were talking about. And I really should do this side by side. Sorry if this gets anyone's dizzy. So let's pull this off. And then let's pull this off. Not you, but you. All right. Bear with me for 1 second. Let me get this kind of side by side here. All right. Can everyone see these pictures and stuff? What I'm showing you? Okay. All right. So it's these. You gotta bear with me with this on this picture here. And I'm gonna try to. Let me see if I can click on it. Oh, that's too big. Let's see. All right. All right. Cool. Good. All right. So as you can see, we got the hardware. Boom, boom, boom. And then we have the drivers. Okay. This is real techy, but you need to know this. In order for you to have drivers, well, let me back up. The reason why you have drivers is so that the kernel can talk to the hardware. And that's what this little piece is abstracted right here. But that is not the only purpose of the kernel. but that's one of the major functions of the kernel. And I spoke about this week with someone, but you need to know that, right? So really, you're I want to say this is like what you're looking at right here. This whole thing is the kernel. You're looking at the drivers, the modules being like if there were 64-bit modules or so forth and so on, and I can show you that. Um, if I went over to lib modules and then do a ls. So these are my, as you can see, this is actually my kernel modules. You see, this is the name of my kernel, and then these are my kernel modules. For each kernel that gets installed, it gets a set of modules. And then if I cd, and these are 32-bit. Why? Because we have a lib64 as well. And if I cd'd over to modules, it's not there. So just under, it's under lib64. Cool. And pwd. Yeah. All right. So pwd meaning tell me what is my current directory. All right. So back over here. Oh no, where's the screen? You were doing good. You was also. All right, we go. All right. So here, KVM, and then you can see the VMs that sit on top. Again, we enabled. They have KVM. Then we enabled KVM on top of that, and then we built our VMs. And then there are processes that take care of what's going on at the level and what services and so forth. So so this is a good picture from a Red Hat view, and this is a good picture from a Google Cloud view. Really very similar, but gives you a visual view of what's going on. Any questions on that? No. Okay. Kind of keep going. All right. So let's see. It's a good one. Kernel. All right. So remember we had a command we ran. I did a yum install, and I don't know if you noticed that command. Let me see if I can. I probably can't scroll up, but what I can do is go back. Let's drop these back in up here. I can go back to my command. I don't know if you remember, if you saw it, but there's that QEM KVM. All right, let's see. Here, I don't want to get into the weeds here because they're talking about throttling and so forth. I don't want to get into the Numa. No. Nested virtualization came out in 7.2. So see, hardware assisted network. This feature enables KVM guests to act as hypervisors, and then they can create their own guests. This can be an example. This can, for example, be used for debugging hypervisors of virtual machines or testing larger deployments on a limited amount of physical machines, i.e., we don't have enough hardware. So that's where it's come into play. So, all right, libvirt and libvirt tools, and these are things we installed already. So need to know why we did that. So let me make this smaller. All right, so libvirt package provides a hypervisor independent API. So this is our API. When we talk about API, when I was using those G Cloud commands, like to talk out to Google Cloud, I was using the API. So that's an example of me using an API. And then I used the API commands to log into my G Cloud. What I did want to show you was, I knew it was something. If I didn't if I wasn't able to log in to my machine, I could open this up in a browser. It should take it. I think I put my SSH keys up there. It should connect. Normally don't take this long, but let's see. If I couldn't SSH, I should get a command line here, just as the same as I would have SSH. Just so that's just an FYI there. All right, let's go back to our stuff. All right. So again, libvirt is a command we're probably going to be using quite often to communicate via API to our VMs that we're going to create. Yeah, see, libvirt focuses on managing single hosts and provides APIs to enumerate and monitor the resources available on a managed node, CPU, and so forth. And then there's then they start talking about Virt and Virch and Virt Manager. Let's open that one up in a tab. All right. So Verse is the command line utility for managing the hypervisor and for creating, configuring, and so forth. So let's look at this. Let's run that command there. Let me minimize this some. So you can see the commands I'm running. So let's do verse hostname. As you can see, I get the host name of my machine. If I just type verse and then I type help, it drops me down into a terminal. And if I type help, it gives me different commands that I can run. All right. So let's look at these commands. Let's do sysinfo. It's clear. Oh, it doesn't know it clear, but that's okay. Sysinfo. So nothing to tell me about, nothing about the system info. Let's look and see what else we can run here. Let's do version. Maybe I had to do something else. Let me see. I don't think so. I think I just typed the commands. I'm gonna type version. Yeah. So it gives me the QEM version, the running hypervisor, what it was compiled against, and so forth. So it gives me a little bit more information. Let's go back over here. We have Virt Manager. They don't give us anything about that right there. Let's continue. So right now, what we've set up is our own virtual environment where I can create VMs or instances. Let's look at Verse to create an instance. I'm jumping the gun because I'm excited. One, two. We still need our networking piece set up. So I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves and we don't have our networking piece set up. So let's do that. Let's look at what they were doing over here in Google Cloud. See, that is Azure. Where's my Google Cloud one? That's all right. I can get it back though. I just want to make sure I didn't miss it. Okay, it's it. Is this it? No, that's not it. So let's go GCP nested virtualization. And then let's scroll down here. All right, so we got to this part. We got the VB0. They did a sudo mode. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go back to my other stuff. We're not getting anything there. Add a dummy interface. So let's go to my other instructions that I was following. Verse net list. We're not getting anything. We need a default. All VMs guest machine only have access to other VMs on the same server, a private network. Let's look at this because we didn't set up a default. We're gonna have to do that. Yeah, see, we don't have a network name default. It's looking for a network name default. Let's just look at what they. Yeah, we don't have anything named default, so we need to set up our default um, networking. So verse default network. I usually try to go with the ones from Red Hat. Well, let's see what old Jamie talking about. Uh huh. All right. So I knew it was a little bit more into it, more to it than this. So here they're setting up IP tables, internet home, configure the bridge. I think I did this. Let's double check. I need to be root. Okay, yeah, that's done. All right, so here it is. This is, I knew it was a step. So this step right here creates the bridge, and we don't have one. There's the dummy zero, but we don't have a bridge. So let's talk about a bridge inside of that, and we'll get back to it. So bridge, virtualization. And I want to look at an image. Uh, that's not a good one. Bridge virtual. Let's do first. Okay. Pay no mind to KVM hypervisor 2, but let's really kind of dive off into this. So basically, what you see here is you see these two instances right here, and they each have their own three. They each have three interfaces, and then you have a bridge here, and you have a bridge for ET80, and then you have this. So let's explain what this is. This ET80 is the actual physical interface on the physical host itself. And then you're creating a bridge here for ET80 to have these three interfaces that I don't want to say correlate, but each one of these interfaces connect back to here, which then connect out and go out here in terms of traffic flow. What you see here, this OVS network, and this is getting into like the OpenStack, and then this is getting behind the scenes at a lower level, which is good information to know. But if you can explain this, I guess in an interview, or what a bridge is and what it allows you to do, you truly understand what's going on. So you see right here, these things right here, they have VLANs. It's a little blurry, but um, there are VLANs that correlate with what tagging goes on. So if something comes off of VLAN 100, it should go to VMnet 1 and go to VMnet 1 on this VM and that VM. So the data that's coming off of that network, coming off out of their interface, is getting tagged with what VLAN it needs to be associated with and how it can get routed. That's what these are here. And then this INT0, that's that interface. So when I don't know what happened there. That's awesome. Hmm. Don't know what happened to that. Let's go back over here. Let's see if we got another one that's not so convoluted. Yeah, let me see. Kind of the same thing. The physical right here, your virtual host, a virtual bridge that allows communication between host A and host B. And then you have a virtual bridge here that allows communication between C and D. Now, in order for A to talk to D, it has to go back out this interface and down and then back up. But we have to allow that traffic to, it has to first know how to get there, and then we have to allow it to get there. So I hope this virtual interface and understanding why this bridge is important. Because right now what we have is we have a host with each 80, but there's no way this VM, there's nothing here. We don't have anything here for them to talk back. Well, we do, but we hadn't told it that we have it. Does all that make sense? Yeah, no, okay. I'm gonna say it all makes sense. I'm not getting no no's or no yeses. Okay. All right. So again, we have a virtual. Remember, we got a virtual bridge, and then we have a virtual NIC. But when we ran our virsh command, let's do virb0. Oops. Yeah, no network mentioned that. We don't have a network. It doesn't know about it. All right. So we need to create that verse default network. We need to create one. All right. Doo-doo-doo. I think I was looking at this one. Okay. So yeah, back to this one. This is when they go in and they configure uh the interface, and I'm gonna go over this next week. We're gonna walk through this. I want to give y'all more time to soak everything up. Well, we create this bridge, as you can see. We give this the IP address and so forth. Here they look like they're just letting network manager know about it, and then they're bringing down the interface and then bringing ET80 back up and the bridge back up, and then they're going in and creating the networks under the bridge. Just this part here, this right here is for IPv6, and then they bring it up, and then you check the bridge, and then now they did here. You can see there's like, okay, verse install dash network. They're doing their bridge there. So we're gonna do that part next week. So making sure that we understand what's going on. So let's look at what we covered, and let's look at where we need to go. All right, because we're almost finished actually. Um, all right, so here you can see they just added the dummy interface again. They're adding the bridge VBR0, so forth. If we did a bridge CTL, we'll see that. Now they said create a tunnel to go from the host VM to the nested VM. Remember when I showed you in that picture? We have no way of getting there. There's nothing there. We're not getting there. So that's what they're doing there. It's like bond the interface to the VM. So that's, letting the VM know, hey, we got a route for you. And then let me see. I don't know why they're downloading this OS here. Oh, I guess this is when they're creating their VM. I think that's what that is. Yeah, they're creating their VM on top of the instance that we created, and then they're doing a web server on top of that, and then you're able to get to the web server. That's what they did just for the communication within that VM. And then outside of that, the next thing they did was now we need to set this up so we can get to the VM. It's cute that we got one in the Google Cloud, but we can't get to it. So now they're walking through the steps on how to get to a VM outside of the network, and they're walking through those steps to do that. So we have to create our network, and I want to explain more on the network and how bridges work and why we're doing that, because you'll use a bridge not only inside of when you're doing nested virtualization, but if you're doing Docker, you use a bridge in Docker. And if you just want to create like a a a bonded interface, you won't use a bridge, but when you do a bond on two interfaces, you're going to go through some of the similar steps. So I want to save the rest of this for the networking next week, and then we're going to start getting into Verse and creating two instances on top of everything so we can play and get them communicating with each other, so you can have your own little lab. So any questions? And I'm turning off the recording as well too.